What's going on, guys? This is Calls. Got Deja Vu coming up, next clan war, and I'm going to talk tactics over strategy. And the reason why I'm going to deviate is because we haven't really found a best troop composition as far as attacks are concerned with the latest updates and changes. And I've noticed that from the previous clan war that I've been in, which was like 3 or 4 clan wars ago because I've been dropped, that the strategy running with Vortex and Invaders and Nurses is largely ineffective. And part of that is because they nerfed the damage of Vortex down to 150, which was significant, as well as the health. I think it was necessary. I think it was needed for balance. But nonetheless, we need to talk tactics on some of these bases because it's going to be exceptionally difficult, and we know that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the ground up, from right to left, instead of left to right. I've got the monuments mapped out, so we'll talk about those. And then what I want to do is just kind of give you some ideas on how to attack some of these bases, because we want to go for stars and as many as we could possibly get. My understanding is some of the best clans that have been participating in clan wars, such as Han AG and Beska War, collectively have only gotten 3 stars against Deja Vu, and that's with both clans combined. So let's try and beat that, obviously. Let's try and do better. This is the first and the lowest base. There are some defensive monuments somewhere. There's 3 golden, I believe, some attack or some resources or some silvers. Yeah. So we've got damage first ground 7%, building and walls 5%, and building increase 3%. So they're not maxed out. So I really wouldn't worry too much about them. Let's just kind of go back to basics here with this space. There's 1 ion down here, so know your numbers. 3,000. So just do simple math based off of what I gave you with the buildings. That's going to be an increase of 8%, and then anticipate blueprints. I'm not certain if a CC level 9 can get the level 2 blueprint for defensive, which would take it up an additional 10%, so 18% ostensibly. It may only be 13%. I'm not 100% sure. So someone who's a CC9 expert can do the numbers. So obviously, the ion station is going to have maybe say 3,200 HP as opposed to 3,000. Bunkers down here, which you could spawn. So I'm always a fan of spawning bunkers and trying to kite them into an area that you want to attack. So I would try an airstrike right in between here to take out the clan HQ, which has got a level 7 Iron Storm and a level 9, 2 level 9 Hornets. So that's if you have max range airstrike. Now, mind you, I understand as CC9 or CC10, you might not be able to take down the clan HQ, which is 3,250. So probably another, 10 to 15% on that. So if that's the case, then don't worry about the clan HQ for now. At least try and get the bunker spawn, kite them into ion station range, and then take it down if ions are problematic for you. Level 2 ions hit significantly less than level 3, so you might not even want to do the ion strategy. You might want to go and try and maximize your damage against some of the other structures up here to the north. But if I were to deploy troops, I'd start up to the north and try and peel away these layers, take out the rally points, and then the gold storage, all the high HP structures like bioreactor, 3,500 HP, that's a lot. And then as you kind of peel away the onion, drop some bombs, and then maybe go from the top down. I'd try and reserve the clan HQ to last. If you inadvertently end up spawning it, sometimes what you can do is you can put like a unit down here, like a crappy unit, and kite them away from from the rest of your forces. So if you have units to spare, even though it's a Hornet and an Iron Storm, the one thing you have to your advantage is they're very slow. They're slow moving troops. So if you can kite them away down towards to this bottom rally point, they can make it largely ineffective. So the next base is Jiva. I was unable to scope the monuments, but I'll anticipate this is a special, it's a special temporary defense monument, so guns, traps, etc. increase 10%. And this one is either going to be MC, which I don't believe is the case. I believe it might actually be the Stacy's, however you say it, the paralyzing monument, because I saw another base that actually had it. And then these, your guess is as good as mine. It could be Spider 3, it could be ground, it could be gun damage, it could be building wall. But anticipate that this is going to be much harder because you got 2 ions which are clustered. I would strongly advise trying to spawn the special bunker with the bomb here and then a bomb here, and then deploying a troop down here on the electronic unit in hopes that the bunker troops will go within airstrike range and drop both of these ions and the clan HQ, if that's doable. Uncertain why they have a Zeus. Predators are better than Zeus in my opinion, based off of HP and damage, but maybe they know something I don't. Traditional bunkers are over here, level 4, so be wary of that. Walls are pretty good, so you're going to need to bring plenty of bombs. I would probably try and peel away this top layer and then go from the north down like the previous base, but that's just me. Next one is Eat Me. Let me see what he's got. He has deceleration 15%, max spider, max damage versus ground, max building wall, and max gun damage. So his stuff's gonna hit very, very hard. So 30% just on monuments, probably another 10% from the blueprints, and so you 140% of 75 means this thing's gonna hit close to 110 damage as opposed to 75. So that's going to be significant, and that's going to be really difficult. If we're going to be dropping airstrikes, I might consider right around here to try and take out this spider, because it's not augmented by increased HP. This one is significantly, because it's got the modular gun, which is showing an increase of 21%. So you got to take everything in which you see with this compound value and then increase 10% of 35, which is 350 plus 420, 4235. So I don't believe the spider would fall even if you were to drop it. So that's why I would advise going against this spider and then trying to deploy your troops from right to left. I think basically what we need to consider doing is bringing some Iron Storms so that they can take away the first layer. Iron Storms have great single target DPS. And this guy knows this too, because his bioreactor is a high HP target that's out here, and there's probably another one up here. Actually, this layer is pretty soft when you look at it in terms of the HP of the buildings. This one is a little bit harder, in fact, to get a second bioreactor. So you might actually want to consider peeling away this layer from right to north, going from the east to the north, and then go from there and try and breach, bang, and clear, bringing bombs, of course. He doesn't have any monuments to augment the walls, so let's go to the previous base and talk about that one. RV, he's running decel 15, max spider, max building wall, max building, and gun. So gun damage 15%, building wall increase 20% total between the two monuments, plus another 10 is basically an additional 30% on top of whatever HP you see. He interestingly is not sporting the HP monument. He's going for damage, and that pairs quite well with gun damage 15%. So base damage is 75, 15 is another 7.5 on top of 86 is 95, 96. So he's going to be running around the same amount of damage as the previous base. I've seen some of the replays with the spiders, and I'm not 100% sold on whether or not it's best to take down spiders. I'm trying to think, like, perhaps maybe what we need to do is tailor our strategy to maximize damage on clustered defensive structures. So like this might be prime real estate to be able to do that, because you could probably be able to get these down within 2 airstrikes. So if you were to try and locate the areas that have the most amount, generally 2 airstrikes will do the trick, although cannons can be a little tricky, 1490, so plus another 30% on top of that is going to put you close to like 1700. So unless both your airstrikes proc, if you got the monument, you're probably not going to be able to take cannons down in 2 hits. So this is reasonably fortified with flame tower, watchtower, cannon, and you're probably going to see identical set of flame tower, watchtower, cannon, and maybe a mortar here and there. So you might want to consider going in from the side, and we've seen this before where they got the rally points on the non-ordinal directions, the southeast, southwest, northeast, northwest. So just be wary of that. Bunkers are pretty well inside. You're not going to be able to spawn them. This will certainly be a challenging base, but you know, all of these bases are going to be challenging. The next one is Nish. I forgot to check him. I know it's in line, so just check line. I think he had like he had 2. Yeah, one of them was the paralyzing monument, and then the other one was the temporary special monument, 10% gun damage, 10% traps, etc. And then the other 3 I think were like gold spider, gun damage, and possibly building wall 10, but don't quote me on that one. So obviously, you know, good base, good guy. We've seen him before. He hangs out with us, and so we enjoy his company. So you get spiders on either corners, and then the ions. One thing that's interesting about his base is he's got a lot of space between the interior and the skeleton, which I agree with because it really forces your troops to the outside. So there's no way you're going to get a good breach on this base. I do believe that given the proximity of the first and second layer, that if you have some vortexes and you deploy them on, say, this mortar, the Jericho is going to be hit as well because it goes by the line force bases. So if you deploy the vortex kind of like in a line, you might be able to get a good breach in killing two birds with one stone. But this is not a good area for airstrikes. I think the airstrikes, you might want to hold off until you start getting some of the heroes piled onto your troops. I would probably go from west to east and try to avoid spawning the clan HQ, which has Zeus, interestingly, and Hornets. I'm very interested to see how well Zeus performs because I haven't seen it very often, and so let's go to the next base and see. Claydog, familiar with him. He was a former clanmate as well. He's got max spider, max ground, max building wall, max building 10, and then he's got the special monument. I believe it's temporary. I'll have to check and see if it's not. I'm pretty sure it's temporary. Yeah, it is. So increased gun damage 10%. So he's got Preds and mosquitoes in here. I might see if you can drop these spiders, but because, yeah, this one should be able to go, but in order to drop the spider, you also have to drop the corresponding shield generator that's next to it, and these shield generators are too far apart, so it's too risky to be able to go one over the other. So I would probably favor this one just because it's got the repair depot. And the bunker down here, if you spawn it, you might be able to kite them north into, actually, no, because clan HQ is up there, so don't do that. You might be better off, let's see, special bunker. I would probably do that. Trigger the special bunker and kite the troops into the middle and see if we can drop them through airstrikes. I'm searching for his second special bunker because I could have swore he had one, but it may not be the case. Nonetheless, it'll be a formidable base. So the next base, I believe, is Halim. Yep. And again, I missed Talim's as well. I think it's also in line. I'm not 100% sure. They probably have swapped them already. But one thing I might consider doing is dropping a worker, just one, because he's got his bunkers all the way in the middle. And so you drop a worker and then one airstrike, you can eliminate all of the bunker troops. In fact, the clan HQ is also in the middle as well, and it too has a Zeus. So the Zeus will survive the airstrike, but it will be greatly diminished. I'm trying to find where his repair depot is, but I'm not seeing it. So yeah, if you drop it like right here on this corner, that should spawn all of the bunkers, and that will cause the troops to kind of strafe down because you want them to close in on the worker. And the goal is to see if maybe you can use a single airstrike and hit the spider as well as taking out all the troops, but I don't think that will happen with the pyros because it takes time for them to be able to get there, and the worker is pretty much going to be annihilated probably before it even reaches. But if you can at least hit the shield generator, that would be good. That increases HP 20%. So you take out the shield generator and all the troops and do some damage, and at least eliminate the Hornets. I think it might be close. Then I would probably try and focus the rest of the airstrikes on this spider and try and get collateral damage on these exterior structures. And then I think it might actually be best to go from west to east, drop an ion, or not an ion, an iron, and peel away the layer. You're going to need at least two because these are two very high level HP structures, including the storage. So this is going to be much more difficult to get through than this because the gold mines, they only have like 800 HP as opposed to like 6,000. So this will be the easier, softer side to be able to get through. Next base is going to be Agent Gibbs. He's got max spider, max ground, max building wall 10, max building 10, and gun damage is maxed as well. So that's 30% plus another 10% from blueprints is 40%. He's got 3 ions. I'm not even sure we should try and attack this base, to be quite frank. You've got ions 105, and that's just taken into consideration the shield generator level 4. So you need to add an additional 40% on top of base damage 75, which is about 28, which is 133 give or take, which means these ions are going to hit for an absolute ass ton. So let's hold off on even attempting Agent Gibbs for right now. I'd much rather use our attacks on other bases and then just see defeat on the ones in which we probably would be just banging our heads against, trying to crack. So tip my hat. It's a very well decorated base, as you can imagine, with all the achievements and stuff, and rightfully so. He's put in the time and effort, so you have to give him credit for that. Next is, I believe, block, and the monuments are identical as Agent Gibbs. Excuse me, but I will repeat them for the sake of specificity. Spider max, ground max, building wall 10, building 10, and gun 15. So again, that's another 140%. Or when I say 140%, I want to make sure that you understand that I'm only talking about 40% on top of base. I say 140 because when I do the calculations, I multiply 1.4 times base, and then that gives me the total damage. So when I do it for this is 90, and then I take that multiply by 1.4, actually from 75. So the ions will hit for about 110, 115, and then you take that over time, and Jungle Heat's got the algorithm for all that. Again, I probably would hold off on block for right now. I just don't see any really good viable strategy. I mean, he's probably got a ton of defensive victories, and rightfully so. He's got a max base, and he was, I believe, at one point the former #1 ranked player in terms of personal rating. So good on him. Next is, I think, Canandris. It is, yes. Canandris is sporting the exact same as blocks, same as Agent Gibbs. Max spider, max ground, max building wall, max building, and max gun. So again, that's another very difficult base. The ions are pretty close together, but it's just a matter of whether or not you're going to drop them based on that. And the way you gauge that is you would have to drop these 2 shield generators in order for them not to get the 20% bonus. You would have to drop the modular gun, which is giving it another 20% bonus on top of that. So if you're able to drop these 2 shield generators, then you've basically reduced it down to what the base HP is, which I believe is 4,000. So you need to be able to do 4,400 damage to these 2 while taking out both of these monuments. So Pythagorean theorem, this guy to here. So shield 4 to shield 4 is like 1, 2, 3 spaces down, and then let's see, looks to be about 7. So it's very tight. I'm not sure I would risk it because your shield generators in and of itself require 4 hits just for them to drop. So I think it's a little bit too risky for you to be dropping airstrikes. So, but nonetheless, I would probably look at going through this side. Seems a little bit lighter. EMP cannon is pretty awful, and mortars are pretty much ineffective. A lot of HP structures over here with the mines, storage, biostorage, rally points, etc. This just looks to be a little bit easier, but no good viable strategy just yet until we kind of figure out the troop composition. That's what's going to come first. Weedy, we're familiar with him. I believe he had been covered in some of my other videos. He's got 2 max spiders, so he's pulsing 10 rounds per. Building wall 10, building 10, and gun 15. Actually his monument composition I would consider to be the best. I'm a huge fan of spiders, and I think the fact that he's maxed both of his spider monuments out is something that proves to be very difficult to handle. And the spiders are also augmented by shield generators, but I don't believe they're level 4. I think these are level 3. No, they are level 4. I misspoke. So again, strategy, this bunker's way out there. You could spawn it and then try and kite them into range. What I noticed about Weedy's base, which I think is better than most of the others, is that he actually spaces his defensive structures out. So I'm not even sure airstriking is the best idea to attack this base. I think this might be an opportunity for us to maybe try something creative with, like, Metapacks, Zerging, dropping tons of workers on CC, and then trying to keep them healed up, or maybe using deactivate to prevent the ions from dropping all kinds of mayhem on the workers. If we wanted to try and do that strategy for a star, I heard it doesn't work. I haven't seen it. I'd love to see a replay and then go from there. We're getting down to the last couple bases. In fact, I think this is the last. This is Costa. So Costa has 2 spider monuments. 1 is not maxed out though, so it's pulsing 5 instead of 6. Ground 15, building wall 10, and then gun 15. So again, it's going to hit very hard. It's kind of all over the place. There's no consistent pattern or or symmetry that I see. So that entropy is good. The base is structured similarly in that it's built around the spiders going east, west, and ions north, south. Um, Again, let's leave this base alone just until we figure out what we're doing, and then we'll go from there. So, all right, that wraps it up. My phone's been buzzing. I apologize. I got to pull chucks and roll on out. Remember, we're going tactics. We're not going strategy. These guys are very formidable. And if you have questions, throw it in line. We're gonna figure out compositions over time. That's gonna come, and also be wary. Don't immediately come rushing out the gates looking to get your mirror and tag them. Let's try and coordinate. And let's get more stars than two, which is what some of the other clans have done. So with that, let's have fun. Remember, this is what it's all about. Clan wars are much more fun now because it requires strategy. It's not just nuke, airstrike, and then raffle. You know what I mean? So although it can be frustrating getting these kinds of opponents, it only makes us better. So with that, I'm going to close the video, and good luck.